Good evening and welcome to Talking Trash in Salem. Tonight, Salem Alliance for the Environment, usually known as SAFE, is taking this opportunity to celebrate some hardworking folks in the community and by sponsoring this program. It's great to see so many here in the studio, and we're happy that many other Salemites are able to join us on the live stream. Tonight, we're going to highlight the work of a small army of volunteers and their fearless leader, who work daily to make Salem a cleaner, greener, more sustainable, and more beautiful place to live. Along the way, we hope to educate you and maybe inspire you to join us in this work. To kick things off, I want to introduce Salem's Waste Reduction Coordinator, Janelle Rowe. Janelle, a graduate of Salem State University, came to this city position with years of experience in program management and now energetically serves as our city's Waste Reduction Coordinator. Beside her work monitoring and guiding the trash and recycling efforts of each and every one of us, Janelle is the staff liaison or band leader for two committees, the Beautification Committee and Salem Recycles. Every week of the year, Janelle takes your calls, answers your emails, organizes meetings and our many popular events, and educates city staff and residents and advocates for bigger and better efforts, as well as some brand new programs, all with a big smile. Also with us is Joel Dashner, the chair of Salem Recycles, the city's recycling committee. Joel has worked in the waste industry for the last 9 years here in the greater Boston area and also in the state of Washington. He has worked for large companies like Amazon, Boeing, and Google to help them manage their waste. And he has also served on several municipal solid waste advisory boards, including Cambridge here in Massachusetts and Seattle in Washington. He currently works for Mass DEP within the Commercial Waste Reduction Branch as an environmental analyst. And now we'll let Janelle and Joel tell you more.
Thank you, Carol, and thank you, SAFE, for hosting us tonight and giving us this opportunity to have these important discussions. I'd like to first begin with introducing the Salem Beautification Committee, which was established in 2006. The committee currently has 11 active members and many volunteers. The mission of the Beautification Committee is to assist the city in developing and pursuing initiatives that promote the beautification of the city. And I'm going to highlight just a few of the programs that the committee is currently working on. If anyone has ever taken a stroll or driven through Salem, you have certainly passed by the traffic islands that are sponsored from local businesses, but they're cared for by the volunteers of the Beautification Committee. On the left is a photo of the SAFE traffic island, and that is at the corner of Essex Street and Webb Street. It is absolutely stunning, and this is just one example of about 40 different public spaces that the Beautification Committee cares for, along with their many volunteers. We are always looking for more volunteers to help us, whether it's weeding, pruning, picking up litter, anything that the traffic islands need, planting. We just planted 700 something bulbs in the fall, so hopefully this spring we'll be able to enjoy all of the beautiful new additions to the city. If you are interested in getting your hands dirty with the Beautification Committee, I invite you to go to salembeautification.com and enter your email so you can get those updates of when the volunteer opportunities will be taking place spring, summer, and fall. The next program that the Beautification Committee works on is the Window Box Competition. So this is along with the Salem Garden Club. This is something they both partner. And it went away for a couple of years during the pandemic, but in 2023 it returned. It was a wonderful opportunity for businesses and residents to showcase their entryways. This is just one example of a window box that blew us away. So those are two programs that the Beautification Committee leads. To celebrate Salem's maritime history, we have the Public Art Lady of Salem project. This started in 2012. This is led by one of our committee members, and it's a public-private collaboration. So local artists will paint these figureheads, and most of them are along the Essex Street pedestrian mall. And they're usually on display from May until October. So if you haven't ever noticed them, you will now. Finally, we have monthly litter cleanups that the Beautification Committee has teamed up with Keep Salem Beautiful, which is a committee near and dear to my heart. We just hosted a monthly cleanup this past weekend at Palmer Cove. About 25 volunteers attended on a brisk Sunday morning, and 220 pounds of trash were collected in a short 2 hours. The next litter cleanup will be Sunday, March 24th at Gallows Hill. And again, these are happening monthly. And the third annual Great Salem Cleanup, hosted by the Beautification Committee and Keep Salem Beautiful, will be taking place on April 20th. We will have about 13 different locations being worked on at the same time by volunteers, hundreds of volunteers. And we have a couple of partners this year, Change is Simple, Salem Sound Coast Watch, Salem Main Streets, East Regiment, Salem Recycles Committee, and a few more. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to just get out there all together, get our environment picked up, especially to celebrate Earth Month. And after the cleanup, we come together and have a volunteer appreciation event. Joel, take it away.
Yeah, happy to. Thank you, Janelle. So the Salem Recycling Committee which is the other committee that we're here to talk about, and the work that we're doing, and how it fits in with the city, has been around since 2008. It is a committee that was created and appointed by Mayor Driscoll, and we currently have 13 committee members and hundreds of volunteers, especially for all of our events. The committee hosts many events throughout the year. It seems like there's not a month that there isn't an event, which is
October.
Okay, the one month. Yes, that makes sense, doesn't it? But the mission for the city, for the recycling committee, is to reduce trash tonnage by increasing recycling, however that can be accomplished, diverting reusable items, motivating city stakeholders through education and information, and like I said, hosting many events that work on a variety of materials. We also have a very wonderful newsletter, very informative, very educational, with lots of tips and interesting information about recycling and waste in general. And so I mentioned the events. Here are some examples, some photos from several of them. So 4 times a year, there is an electronic waste recycling event. This usually happens up at the high school, and this is a drop-off event, which is fantastic. This is an opportunity for residents to clean out electronic waste that might be, that's accruing in your home. This is really anything with a wire, anything with a computer chip in it. And this is a wonderful event, very easy to participate in. And as electronic waste is both banned, should not be included or should not be disposed of in the trash, and is technically sort of a hard to recycle or hazardous material. And there's a lot of good materials to be recovered from electronic waste. We should all be utilizing this event as much as we can. And then we also have other events like free book swap, which happens twice a year. This is a really wonderful event where the community, we have so many volunteers from the community coming to donate their old and loved but no longer wanted books to give to a new home, and then people coming to pick up new books. And this event is wonderful because there's no cost. You can come and drop off books for free. You can come and pick up as many books as you would like for free. And it's a really wonderful event. And the next one is coming up March 23rd. So we hope that as many members of the community will come and participate in that event, either through donating or picking up. And then again, another wonderful event that is unique to our committee is the repair cafes or fix-it clinics that we hold. And these are events where we bring together people from the area who have some skill in repairing or fixing or mending things. And they provide that service to and are matched with a person who has need for that item to be repaired, mended, or fixed. And that can be electronics, that can be textiles. There's a pretty wide array of materials that can be fixed and not disposed of, avoided to be disposed of from the landfill or incineration. The next repair cafe is coming up May 18th. And then also twice a year, we do a styrofoam or recycling drop-off and collection event where people from the community have the opportunity to bring clean, white, rigid, expanded polystyrene or styrofoam that does not have tape on it, does not have stickers or labels on it, and no packing peanuts. And they can come and bring that material to this event for free and drop it off, and it gets recycled by a local partner. So those are our events, and they're really wonderful, and I encourage anybody in the community to come and take advantage of them or to help and volunteer at them.
Absolutely. So to piggyback off of the events, we will be hosting in March a series of zero waste events. This is the city, Salem State University, the Sustainability and Resiliency Department, and Salem Recycles. We're kicking off that week on March 20th. Salem businesses will have the opportunity to sign up for a free waste audit. This will be conducted by Recycling Works MA and the Center for Eco-Technology. This is a great opportunity for, a shop or a restaurant and everything in between to, sit down for 40 minutes and learn, are you taking advantage of all of the recycling options that exist in and around Salem? What are you doing with your waste hauling if it's Friday, March 22nd, we'll be hosting a swap on campus, and that's open to the public. So it will be like small household goods and clothing. In addition, on Saturday, March 23rd, there will be a whole series of events, the book swap that Joel had mentioned, which we usually have 700 residents attend. So it's a huge event, and we're still left with thousands of books, which we partner with a company who hauls them all away, and they either get reused or recycled. But that event will be taking place at the Community Life Center. We also have our quarterly e-waste event at Salem High School from 8 a.m. until noon. And at the same time, at the Horace Mann School, which is right next to the high school, we're going to be offering the free document shredding event, which will be a drive-through event. That's something we've never offered before, but last year we did have a private business in Salem closed down, and they offered that service, and our residents were quite used to it. And we've heard that this is really shaken things up, whether it comes to cardboard recycling or the document shredding. So this is our attempt to see how we've never done this before, see how it goes, and perhaps it's something we can throw into our regular scheduled events every year. And then we'll be closing down the Zero Waste Weekend on Sunday, March 24th with a litter cleanup at Gallows Hill. All right, so we have a lot to talk about when it comes to other ways we can be reducing our waste and recycling opportunities. So first, I'd like to dig into composting, because Salem residents have a couple of options on their food waste. So just to back it up a little, what is compost? So we all produce food waste, whether it's just scraps when you're making a salad or a soup, to your food leftovers. All of that can actually be created and turned into nutrient-rich soil. So instead of having all of our food waste go into our solid waste stream and get incinerated, instead, it can create nutrient-rich soil. So the first suggestion for Salem residents, if you have the space, is purchasing a backyard earth compost machine for $25 at DPS. And the items that you could compost in your backyard earth machine are fruits, vegetables, coffee grounds, and eggshells. If you don't have the space or the time and energy to compost at home, there are two other alternatives that Salem residents could explore. We do have a free drop-off at Mack Park. There are 2 compost bins there that are emptied twice a week by a local compost company called Black Earth Compost. And you can actually bring more than just fruits and vegetables and coffee grounds to these locations because they're a commercial facility. They're able to process meat, fish, bones. What am I missing?
Dairy.
Yeah, dairy.
Yeah. Cheese.
So really anything that you have left over in your household can be brought to Mack Park, or you can sign up for a subscription through Black Earth Compost, and that's a weekly or bi-weekly curbside pickup. Right now, for or more, that cost will drop down to, I believe, $99 a year. So that will be, very helpful for everybody, the more people we get enrolled. We also, the city just released in December the 13-gallon curbside bins, for all new subscribers, will be free. So I encourage everyone, if you have been considering composting at home and maybe driving to Mac Park isn't convenient, or having an earth machine in your yard is also not convenient or appealing, then look into this option. I also want to add that the free drop-off at Mac Park, that program will be expanding this spring. So we are looking to add more free drop-off sites throughout the city, which is very exciting. We want to make it more accessible. We want to spread word and have more of our residents able to just bring it somewhere very easily. We also have just recently implemented a soft plastic collection. We have 3 sites throughout the city, the Salem Library, City Hall Annex, and the Community Life Center. So soft plastics, and we'll get into this very soon, are not acceptable materials in our curbside recycling bins. So a great alternative is bringing these, whether it's a bread bag, a plastic bag from another community, since Salem shouldn't have plastic bags, or what your newspapers would come in. You can bring them to participating grocery stores or one of these locations that the city has now introduced. We're hoping this helps spread awareness to our community that these items aren't curbside recyclable, and that just draws awareness. We also have textile bins throughout the city. And Joel and I, when we were preparing for this chat tonight, we're so used to just saying, oh, textiles, like this is what you do. And we wanted to back that up a little bit as well and explain what exactly is accepted in these bins throughout the city. So we have Helpsy that has a textile bin behind St. Peter's Church. And then we work with Bay State Textiles, and they have bins in every one of our public school parking lots. So a textile is really clothing, shoes, bags, household linens, anything that's a material. And at all of these locations that I just mentioned, whether they're reusable or not, if they're torn and stained, they are still accepted at these locations. What these companies are doing is sorting and determining whether or not something is reusable or not. If it's not reusable, then it will be recycled. It could be made into rags and sold in that way. So we really wanted to dig a little bit deeper into, what is a textile and where can you bring them? The Recycling Committee also hosts a textile drive every November, and the turnout is incredible. But rather than holding on to those bags and bags of textiles, you could bring them at your leisure 24/7 to one of those locations.
Yep. Yeah, and that's right. And so again, as long as the material has been washed and doesn't have mud or dirt, or something else on it, recycling low-grade, fabric, low-grade cloth, or low-grade, textiles, old towels, things of that nature. But it doesn't need to be necessarily something that could be resold or dropped off at a thrift store to be resold, like a perfectly good button-down shirt, as an example. It could be a shredded button-down shirt that has just been washed again one more time and dried so that it can be collected properly. But then they will take it and they will do the right thing with it. And they have that spectrum of things that they do with it. So we can be made to feel comfortable that they're going to use it at its best level.
Exactly. And then lastly, we wanted to mention about the TerraCycle collection programs that the Salem Recycles Committee had introduced over the years. These programs are ever changing. Right now, the committee is collecting 5 different types of TerraCycle items. I may not know them off the top of my head. Brita is one, like, brand specific. Also oral care, so anything like floss containers, toothpaste, tubes.
Yeah, toothbrushes.
Toothbrushes.
Yeah.
Then anything like deodorant related, and Swiffer. So dry Swiffer pads are also accepted. We're looking to add more to this program, but we've also rebranded all of our events. So if you're going to the book swap, or if you're going to the repair cafe or textile drive, you can also bring your TerraCycle items along with you, and we'll accept them then.
Yep. And the TerraCycle programs are they are a way for us to attempt to recycle hard to recycle items that should not go into your recycling bin. So that is the most important thing to take away from tonight. I mean, they shouldn't go into your recycling bin, and we do have an option for several of those items here in Salem, either at our events or at City Hall Annex. But again, this is sort of these TerraCycle programs are they're a current solution. Hopefully one day these materials will be more readily acceptable in our recycling bin, or there will be some other way to get them back to the manufacturer for recycling through perhaps an extended producer responsibility bill or policy. But in the meantime, these TerraCycle programs are a good way of dealing with these few hard to recycle objects that we have. So familiarize yourself with with the programs that we offer here in Salem, and definitely bring your materials either to an event or to City Hall Annex.
Excellent.
And so, we are here to talk about recycling and composting, which is a form of recycling. But we also, we're also here to generally talk about waste. And one of the most important tools that amount of waste that we are creating and disposing of here in the city and in the world. And we are quite lucky in this community to have two local businesses, if you wouldn't mind showing them again, that are nearby that can assist us with this. So there is Unpacked Living in Beverly, and then there's McRae's in Marblehead. And these are two zero waste stores, if you will, or sort of eco-friendly product stores. And they sell goods. They sell household goods that come in minimal packaging, so you don't have to worry about disposing of it or recycling. And they also go a step further, if you're not familiar with them or with this concept of being a place where you can go and you can fill up another container, either a reusable, recyclable container that they have there, or even bring your own, and get some things that you readily use around your house all the time, like shampoo, conditioner, cooking oil. So a wide variety of things, and of bulk items or bulk materials or bulk liquids or lotions or soap, things of this nature, and things I think many of us are familiar with the bulk aisle of a grocery store, but they take it further, and you can get some other useful household items that you would love to be able to refill, but can't anywhere else. So if you're not familiar with those locations, go check them out. They're great stores. We should be giving them our business. They also provide ways of disposing of some hard to recycle items as well. They serve as a collection drop-off location for many hard to recycle items, like some of the TerraCycle programs, as well as some others. So it's worth, if you are at all interested in that concept, it's worth going a little bit further after this program, digging a little bit deeper, familiarizing yourself with them, and going and visiting them.
Yeah, and I suggest, rather than, if you haven't yet started your refill or plastic-free journey, take inventory of your home right now. If you're almost out of hand soap, rather than going to the store and getting another bottle of hand soap, take that container and bring it to the refill store. See what scents and what brands they have, and play around with that. If you're almost done with your deodorant, that's likely in plastic. When you've finished it, go and check out what sort of deodorants, whether it's a cream in a glass jar or if it's in a compostable container. Just do one thing at a time rather than everything, because a lot of these things are deeply personal, and we've been doing them for decades. So, change isn't always very easy. So just start with one thing.
That's great advice. Yeah, pick one thing and see how it goes. Yeah, great advice. Yep. Getting back to recycling, which is again one of the R words that we are very familiar with, and I think that we spend most of our time talking about recycling. It's really worth familiarizing yourself with that on a regular basis. Recycling is not, recycling is prone to changing, and recycling is not one thing that you can just learn once and then move through your life without learning more or without modifying your practices. It's sort of like, it's like many things. It's like many other things that you would want to get educated on about cooking or your taxes or anything that could change a little bit. And recycling is a business which is driven by economics, and there are little changes that happen every year, and so it's worth continuing to educate yourself and update your knowledge about that. So in that spirit, we're going to talk about sort of the state of the art, the current best practices for recycling. And they are encapsulated so perfectly in this diagram, which comes to us from the RecycleSmartMA.org website. And RecycleSmartMA.org is a extremely intentional and researched and up-to-date website, and a concise source of information that is trying to really strip away any misinterpretation or misinformation and give us all the most, again, up-to-date, concise information about recycling that there is. And so the messages that we should be really learning and taking in and practicing right now are shown on this diagram. So we should be recycling in our single stream curbside program here in Salem. We should be recycling metal food and beverage cans. They need to be empty and rinsed. So they should be, basically as clean and dry as we can make them within reason. Bottles, jars, jugs, and tubs that are made of plastic, and again, they should be empty and rinsed. And we should all be putting the cap back on. So put the plastic cap back onto those plastic jars, jugs, and tubs. Glass bottles and jars, again, empty and rinsed. Paper and cardboard, so this is like newspaper, boxes, magazines, our mail, things like this. And for boxes, it is really in everyone's best interest if you can just take a moment and flatten them. And you also want to make sure that they're empty. It's very common that we receive things in a cardboard box that are wrapped in plastic and maybe protected with styrofoam.
Do I dare go to the next slide?
You dare.
Do I dare?
Janelle. Let's do it. And then we can come back.
Oh, well, I guess it's the next
Let's
slide.
go to the next one. So since we're on the topic of, Janelle is teeing me up to talk about improper recycling and contamination. So we might as well talk about this a little bit. But so on the screen you can see these are photos taken from our recycling, our city recycling. So every year we have a waste audit that is conducted on our behalf by our waste hauler. And these were photos that were taken at the waste audit. And again, these are not pictures from our trash bins. These are pictures from our recycling bins. And what hopefully you can see is that there are many things in those photos that should not have been recycled. They should not have been put into the recycling bin, but yet they were. So if we begin up in the top left corner, in the center, what you can see is something that says "Recycle Me," and it's got green writing on it. That is a freezer pack, like a freezer gel pack, that came with like a subscription meal service, which I think many of us are familiar with. And even though that pack says "Recycle Me," there's more instructions that are also included on that freezer pack. I believe that actually what needed to happen was the contents needed to be drained out of it. It needed to be rinsed, and then that pack could have then potentially been recycled as a plastic film, collected as plastic film, and dropped off at like the program that Janelle was talking about, where this new plastic film recycling program that we have. But it was not intended for the freezer pack to be simply put into the recycling bin as it was. And so that is a contaminant that should not have been there. Then if we go down immediately to the picture below, you see milk cartons and juice cartons that are made of paper are currently not recyclable, unfortunately. And so those should be put in the trash instead. So that is, they were a material that used to be allowed to be recycled, and so many of us probably remember that, and still might misremember whether or not they can be recycled. But currently, those are not recyclable, so that is currently a contaminant. In the center lower photo, you see what looks like a lot of fragments of wood, and that's exactly what that is. Those are fragments of wood, maybe rotten wood, I'm not sure, but wood should not be put into the recycling bin. That is not where that material should go. In very small quantities, that material should go into the trash. If you have a lot of wood, maybe you're doing a demolition or a construction project of your house or building something, and you have other building materials and a lot of wood, that should really be recycled as construction and demolition waste. And you should probably be working with a private hauler or a vendor to recycle that material, because that is technically, it would be technically illegal in the state of Massachusetts to put that material in the trash as well if you had a large amount of it. So there are waste bans within Massachusetts, and it is technically illegal to put some materials into the trash, and that includes recycling. So we technically should not put trash or recycling into the trash. But then there are also materials like wood that we want to recycle, but there's a different way of recycling it. And then if we look up at the upper right photo, there is a package of chicken, which I'm hoping was past its expiration date or went bad. But so although that needed to be disposed of and was not composted, it should not go into the recycling bin. That is not the right place for it. Food scraps and liquids should not go into the recycling bin, full stop. That is not the right place for it. Ideally, we would all have curbside compost, and that person should consider getting a Black Earth subscription for curbside compost. But that material would need to be taken out of its package first. And then if we look in the bottom right photo, we can see what looks like sort of like a bubble wrap or air-filled plastic packaging, for that something was padded with, and that is a plastic film, soft plastics that are very, very crinkly, like plastic bags, bubble wrap, things of that nature. They should not go into the recycling. They are going to gum up the works. They're going to get caught in the machine and wrapped around various moving parts in the machine, and they are an annoyance and actually sort of can damage and slow down the workings of our recycling infrastructure. So that should not be included as well. That should be put in the trash, or ideally put into the plastic film recycling program that Janelle mentioned again. So anyway, that's contamination. But maybe we should go back a couple slides. I think 2 slides.
1, yep.
And just finish out this fantastic graphic. So again, and I've already spoken about some of these things. If we go down to so we already talked about what should be recycled, which was the upper part of that infographic. It's again important to talk about what cannot be recycled, which is in the lower half of this infographic. We should not bag our recyclables, and we should not put garbage into our recycling. And again, the bag gets wrapped around the machinery. No bags, no plastic wrap, no food or liquid. And to the best of our ability, we should really be striving to make sure that our recyclables are clean and dry. They certainly don't need to be perfectly dry, but if we rinsed out everything and then gave it a good shake and made sure to knock off all food scraps from our recyclables, we would be doing ourselves, our recycler, and our scrap commodity a huge favor. And really what food and liquid does is it degrades the quality of the material, so it makes it worthless, and it also creates a hazardous work environment for the people that work at our recycling facilities by introducing mold and mildew and rodents into their work environment, which we know many of these people who work in these plants or who drive these trucks are our neighbors. So it would be in our best interest to make sure they have a nice, clean work environment. And no clothing or linens. Again, cloth, linens, textiles. There's another way to recycle that. It is technically illegal to dispose of as trash, and it can get wrapped around the machines at a recycling facility, like the plastic bags. And then there's another category of things that can get wrapped around the machinery at a recycling facility, which is called just generally tanglers, and that includes things that is not a plastic bag or or clothing, and that is things that are like a chain or a piece of rope, a piece of string, Christmas tree lights. So a wide variety of things that are sort of rope-like or cord-like. And even if they're made of plastic or maybe made of metal, and we have a tendency to think that anything made of plastic or anything made of metal can be recycled and can be put into our recycling bin, and it's really not true. So anyway, again, this is a fantastic infographic. If everybody wanted help remembering how to recycle, they could go to the recyclesmartma.org website and print this off and put it next to their recycling bin, and this would be a great tool to have.
It's a great resource. Oftentimes a resident will call me with a very tricky question, and I may not know the exact answer, and I'll just go to the Recyclopedia on their website, and you can put in any item, and it's on there, and it will tell you, is it curbside recyclable in Massachusetts, or should it be thrown away? So it's a great resource.
Yeah, absolutely.
So these are just photos of the most recent MRF tour, which is our material recovery facility. And that's where all of the recyclables in Salem are brought to.
Yep. And and so our recycling here in Salem, it's brought to that material recovery facility in Billerica, Massachusetts. But most of our trash goes to a incinerator not far away in Saugus, the Wheelabrator incinerator. And to get rid of it, but then they are also utilizing the heat that is being generated, to produce electricity. So that is that's currently where most of our trash goes, and I think the most important thing about that to say that and to try to leave. I mean, there's a lot of controversy about incinerators, but one of the most important things about incinerators that is not good and is irrefutable is that if we burn something, we no longer have it. And so that is a issue for a material that is useful, that could have another life. And so really, one of the things that we want to drive home is that there's a variety of reasons why recycling is good, and we're going to talk about some of the economic reasons for the city later, why recycling is really beneficial and why everybody who's joining us tonight should be recycling correctly and recycling as much as they can within reason, within what is allowed, within what is proper, but one of the big reasons why we should all be recycling is again because if you put that material into the trash, it is going to be incinerated. We are not going to have access to that material anymore. That's, you could say, well, if it's a renewable material like paper or something that comes from a renewable source, again, like a forest material, from trees, what's the harm in that? Well, I mean, we could talk about that for a while, but especially anything that's made of plastic that we can recycle, that is a material that comes from a fossil fuel. That's a hard won material to acquire. It took millions of years, thousands of years for that to form, and so we should really be stewarding that material as properly as we can and utilizing it more and keeping it around because, again, there's finite resources of that material. And the same is true for other things. There are other other excellent materials that can be lost or damaged by being sent to an incinerator. Electronics are an example where those electronics have rare earth elements and precious metals in them, and those are extremely valuable, especially right now when everything has a computer chip in it and wiring. And we should really be diverting that material to be disassembled and properly recycled instead of sending it to an incinerator where it is lost forever.
Yep. All right. Here are composting. So Salem Public Schools is now in the midst of their composting journey. The Carleton Innovation School started composting, which I refer to as phase 1, in September. I know we've talked a lot about composting, but like we're just scratching the surface when it comes to our community and where we actually need to be diverting all of these materials from our solid waste stream and instead creating nutrient-rich soil. Things are going incredibly well at Carleton. As I just said, September, phase 1 started, which is composting in the kitchen with the staff. In January is when phase 2 started, and that is in the cafeteria with students. For the first 3 weeks, we had dedicated volunteers at every lunch, and teachers showed students a PowerPoint presentation just to introduce what composting is and what they would be doing with their leftover food scraps, every day now. There are so many wins when it comes to this program, and we're still at the very early stages. But in the short amount of time, we've been composting at the smallest of our elementary schools in Salem. We've collected 2.6 tons of organics that have been diverted from our solid waste stream. Within the first week of introducing phase 2, we were able to decrease the frequency Waste Management now picks up their dumpsters. So they were historically picking up and emptying the solid waste dumpster at this location 3 times a week. It's now twice a week. We very quickly and early on established a food share table. So oftentimes, if a student gets a yogurt or a cheese stick or, a package of carrots and they don't eat it, it normally would have been thrown away. And in all of our other schools, it's being thrown away. So right now we have this food rescue and food share. So we have students who now just walk in the cafeteria, they know there's going to be food in this, and they don't have to stand through the line just to get a cheese stick or an apple. They know they can come to this cooler and there will already be items there, especially if they've brought their lunch and they're still hungry. There are other really amazing things that have come from just establishing composting at Carleton, and we're now implementing phase 1 at the rest of the schools over the coming months. So it's really exciting. I'm so grateful to have the support from Superintendent Zreich, Mayor Pangalo, and they're all very enthusiastic and encouraging of these new practices being implemented, and the students are doing incredible. They're learning. The first couple of days, they were very worried why we were taking their trays and stacking them. They were hoping we weren't reusing them because they're not reusable trays. But there's been a lot of really great conversations with the students as young as kindergarten. a mattress recycler. So 32 tons, which historically would have been incinerated and part of what we're charged for solid waste removal. So incredible that that's now being diverted. And then electronic waste, this comes from our quarterly e-waste events, and that's 43 tons. So this is a lot being diverted, and of course, even more being reused, which we can't really capture, but Salem's doing a great job. There's always room to do more.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so, we, again, so this slide touches on a few things that we've already talked about, and that for example, the hierarchy of importance of what should, of where, how we should be managing our materials that we don't want. So first we should be reducing the amount of things, and then reusing, recycling, but at the very end, disposing via landfill or incineration. That would be the least preferred. But one of the most important takeaways from this slide is that it costs a lot of money to dispose of our trash. It is, and the costs are going up, and it's one of the biggest budget items for the city, I believe, right? Can we say that?
Sure is. Yeah.
So, any amount of assistance that the residents of Salem can give to the city in this respect by recycling more correctly, more properly, is very helpful, because it reduces the city's financial burden, which then could potentially reduce the tax burden of hopefully in the future on the residents. So.
Indeed. Bonnie, would you like to come up?
Hi, everyone. I just want to invite our audience members to come and ask a few questions. Joel and Janelle are fabulous speakers on this topic and really loved talking about it. So we only have like 5-10 minutes for questions. So please come up and ask a few questions, because we really wanted this to be a discussion to get a little deeper. And they're very knowledgeable, as you all can see. So please, if you have a few, come on up.
Fantastic. Excellent job. So 2 quick questions. One on the soft plastics. Does this include chip bags?
It does not.
It does not. There's so many of those.
Yeah, so that is
great
a
question.
material that's known as multi-layered plastic, and
Okay.
currently that is not allowed to be recycled in that same program. That program is specifically for. It's basically like number 2 and number 4 plastic bags, which is like shopping bags, or like the bags that our newspapers arrive in,
Okay.
or bubble wrap. But
Okay.
multi-layered plastic, unfortunately, can't be included in that. There are companies that recycle that, but they and collect that, but they are not yet here in this area.
Okay,
So,
bummer.
Yeah.
And is there a money number associated with, say, like your programs and what you've done? Like it takes money.
It's regardless whether we stay with our current hauler or go elsewhere, these costs are inevitable. But something like that, would be interesting.
Okay, thank you so much. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much. My question, I know we're on the beginning of our composting journey here in Salem, but I was wondering if there's been any conversation either internally in the city or with Black Earth about pursuing a contract like they have with the city of Watertown, where it's free compost delivery curbside for all residents of buildings 8 units or less. And if that's something that we're thinking about, because I know even $90-something a year could be a bit of a hefty price tag for some residents in Salem.
Absolutely. So, I mean, those conversations definitely have been taking place. We're looking at pretty substantial increases to our next municipal solid waste and recycling contract. So I think the timing is going to be quite tricky just to sort of fit those two things in together, but it's something I'm talking about. I mean, Mayor Pangallo, again, is so supportive, and he is very in tune with like what the solid waste tip fees are increasing to. So that is a huge motivator to like just increase composting efforts across the board. So short term is like adding more free drop-off sites and just spreading the knowledge that way and getting, residents, familiarized in different parts of the city. And then, hopefully, I mean, it's my dream, and I'm going to say this, it's my dream to have weekly curbside compost pickup and every other week trash pickup. Are we there yet? No, but I'm here for it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think most of what you're talking about is around household waste. I was wondering if you could talk also about commercial waste within the city, and specifically if there's any plans to encourage businesses to reduce hard to recycle materials like the black plastics and the soft plastics and encourage them to compost also.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's, what do I start with? So the ordinance that the city over the past year implemented to ban the polystyrene packaging, that's a great step in the right direction. But, there are, of course, other materials being used for to-go and leftovers. Like you said, black plastic also isn't curbside recyclable, so it's a tough material. So we're working on that, and those conversations are also happening. There's also conversations taking place for like mandatory composting for businesses, municipal buildings, and these are all important conversations, but it also has so many things to consider. The state of Massachusetts had initially the organics limit before they had to compost or divert those organics elsewhere, was 1 ton per week, and now it's a half a ton per week. So I imagine in the near future that will continue to decrease and affect more commercial businesses without municipalities having to make those decisions. But I'm not quite sure on what those timelines are and who exactly that affects. But yeah, I mean, on the commercial side, it's really important.
All right. Thanks to Janelle and Joel for joining us this evening. I think we failed to mention that Janelle is getting an award next month. And I tried looking up what it is.
That's okay. It's through Keep Massachusetts Beautiful.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I believe it's something like Municipal Partner of the Year, if I'm not mistaken.
Guilty.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
And much deserved. Much deserved. Yes.
Yeah. Before she was our sustainability coordinator, she was running all of these Keep Salem Beautiful cleanups. So she's long been an advocate in our community. So SAFE is a 22-year-old organization. Wow. We were founded by local folks largely to shut down our coal plant. And today we're seeing an offshore wind marshaling yard. So that's how we're spending a lot of our time. We're very excited our port's being developed, and a lot of our focus is on pushing for a true just transition that includes jobs for local people and a world-class electrified port. But our efforts span the gamut, so we wanted to make sure we were talking about other things because we have our fingerprints on Salem Recycles. Carol, who introduced us, has been on there. She can't tell me how long. I think it's been 10 years, maybe more. So we're all over the place on beautification, that traffic island you saw, all things sustainability and resiliency. And in the midst of what can feel very overwhelming, we are in a climate crisis. It's really fabulous to find neighbors who are doing wonderful things. So Janelle and Joel are really key community members who are moving us forward with hope and purpose. So we're grateful for the education you provided us today and the invite to volunteer and get involved. And we'll keep having these conversations and seeing our schools compost, our businesses compost. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.